The United States Grand Prix has become a weekend that has generated a lot of discussion. These discussions are not about Ferrari's hugely impressive 1-2 or the many upgrade packages that were introduced, but rather the penalty that Lando Norris received at the end of the Grand Prix when overtaking Max Verstappen for third place. In today's GPFans Special, we dive a little bit deeper into everything that happened between Verstappen and Norris in Austin and why the FIA are facing so much criticism for their decision-making. It's a shame that we are only really talking about Lando Norris' penalty in the days after the US Grand Prix, because the fight between Norris and Verstappen during the race would have been worthy of a special on its own. On lap 42, Lando started knocking on Max's door, the Dutchman being on older tires. Lap after lap, Verstappen placed his RB20 brilliantly and put up a real defensive masterclass, while Norris too was attacking from all sorts of angles. It was brilliant driving from both. In lap 52, the definitive move finally came. Norris charged down to turn 12 with DRS, went alongside Verstappen and got past him around the outside. Verstappen stayed on the inside, outbroke Norris and went through the corner before the Englishman. He did outbrake himself too, however, as he went off track, as did Norris. So Lando overtook Max, but did so off-piste. Norris rejoined in third place and went straight onto the team radio, quote, "I think I was ahead at the apex, let me know if you think otherwise." Race engineer Will Joseph agreed with the driver, but a few laps later there was a twist in the tale. Quote, "Our opinion is you were ahead at the apex, both cars went off track," McLaren added over team radio. Norris said, quote, "Yeah, Verstappen also went off, so it's clear." It wasn't until after the race, when Norris was informed of his 5-second penalty, that the 24-year-old lamented the fact that he stayed ahead of Verstappen after his off-track overtake. Quote, "Well, then I should have gotten back behind him, shouldn't I? Would he have done this, there would have been no penalty and he would have had 4 more laps to get another overtake done on the Red Bull." Norris' penalty has divided opinion among all experts and pundits, but some people forget that there are 2 different scenarios at play here. The first is that a car is allowed to defend from an attacker behind. The golden rule is that whoever gets to the apex first has ownership of the corner. In this case, that was Verstappen. However, the way he got to the apex has been questioned. He initially arrived second at the apex, but briefly came off the brakes to still get there first, which led him to not make the corner. The FIA have been clear in their explanation for the 5-second penalty. Norris overtook Verstappen around the outside, but wasn't alongside at the apex. That means, according to the FIA, Norris loses his quote-unquote ownership of the corner. Then the McLaren went off track and overtook Verstappen before rejoining, which led to the penalty. Some people argue that both drivers went off the track, so both drivers should then have had a penalty. But this is something different entirely. Like we explained, Verstappen got to the corner first. The Dutchman did get a strike for track limits, but was not penalized any further. What doesn't help in the conversation around the incident is that the FIA aren't exactly always consistent, although in this case they have been. Oscar Piastri got a penalty during the sprint race for a similar incident with Pierre Gasly. The only difference being that Gasly and Piastri were more or less alongside at the apex, meaning the Aussie wasn't the only driver with ownership of the corner. Piastri stayed on the track, unlike Norris and Verstappen, but pushed Gasly off. The same happened during the Grand Prix between George Russell and Valtteri Bottas, where Russell too got a penalty. In this case as well, Russell was not ahead of Bottas at the apex of turn 12. Verstappen's defending has opened discussions about the wording of the sporting regulations. The FIA reached an agreement at the start of this year about the driving standards guidelines which contain the rule that has now sparked all of this commotion. In this case, the FIA has strictly followed its own regulations, but whether those regulations are correct is another discussion. So, what do you make of the rule? Should it be changed or stay as it is? And was Norris' penalty fair or harsh? Let us know your thoughts in the comments down below as always, and I'll catch you in the very next video. See you then.